Welcome to Brew with Miss Baritone. I'm your host, Chicky Baritone, and this is my podcast. I'm gonna give it to you all black, no creamer, no sugar, no honey. So join me as I brew up some life-giving conversations with some dope people. Welcome to Brew with Miss Baritone. I am very excited about this next episode. I am joined with amazing women who I call my friend, and these are voices that I trust in my life. And I decided to bring these women together to have a conversation from the perspective of the 40's Club. And this discussion is going to involve relationships in reference to marriage, divorce, dating, and single. So, starting here from my right, your left, please introduce yourself to my audience, please.
Hello, I'm April Kelly.
I'm Jessica Gilbert.
I'm Alexa Horn.
And I am Kenya Scott.
Welcome, ladies, to the podcast. So glad you all did not fight me on the invite. So we are going to give it all black, no creamer, no sugar, no honey. I have questions in this bowl. These women don't know what these questions are. And I'm going to ask these questions, and we're going to have some amazing conversation surrounded around these questions. So are y'all ready? Everyone's ready?
Yes, we're ready.
All right.
I don't know. I'm not be ready.
Get ready. Get ready. So we're going to spin, let's see kind of what comes up. So here is my first question. What is something about you that you feel is hard to accept if a man decides to date you? And I want to direct this question to April.
Ooh.
April Kelly.
Okay, that's a good one. I guess off the top of my head, I would have to say, because I have been single for so long, because I am divorced, I'm just so accustomed to being by myself and in my own space and doing stuff my own way. That's going to be a little difficult for me to actually have somebody come into my space and be able to live with me.
Wow.
Good point.
Yeah.
But that's honest,
It is
especially
honest.
when you've been
That's
single
good.
for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. I know for me, it probably would be, because I am also divorced, that to hear someone actually say, something nice like you're beautiful, or without you're like, really, kind of thing. So especially if you haven't dated, I haven't dated, so it's just kind of been like one of those things where you're divorced, trying to get your life together, but just to hear that, that male voice say, hey, you're beautiful, or just to hear it. It would probably be a little challenging for me, because you're like, nah, whatever.
And it's interesting, I can't imagine that, especially if I have been married and now divorced, and being in the seat that I'm sitting in and desiring marriage. It's pretty incredible to hear the perspective of that. And it's got to be hard too, a hard adjustment,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you guys for being honest and transparent. So, next question. What is your advice for a woman dating a man with kids? And if these kids are teenagers, in their 20s, or older? And I'm directing this question to my dear friend Alexa.
Having done this several times,
Okay.
I would say, I think the first thing that the recommendation I would give is to make sure that this person has a good relationship with their ex or exes.
That's good.
And you also want to make sure that the finances are straight from her perspective, that everyone is on the same page with what should be happening monthly with the kids, and what what their obligation is. And I also look for whether they're stepping up past the obligation. So I look for things that say, okay, well, maybe the court said that your contribution should be $1,500 a month. Well, it's year 5. is there any way you can make that $1,800 a month? Why should they have to live on $1,500 for the next 18 years? So maybe you look at things like that, or you come up, I want to know that they come up with ways to increase something. That just lets me know that they're thinking ahead, that they're thinking about the market, that they're thinking, not just thinking about the kids, but thinking about their mom.
Wow.
Again, I've done this several times.
That's an interesting perspective.
Those are the kinds of things that I look for. And it's just about caring for that family. They're still your family. And of course, how you treat your parents.
So what if they're older, Alexa? So let's say you're dealing with, kids that are out the house and they're young adults. They're in their 20s. They've graduated from college. They're new to the working world per se. But now this man is still pouring into them financially. Let's say they're out of that realm of child support, but they're still there to assist their children in this transitioning. What would you say to that?
So having done this before, one of the things is, that when they're 18, it's not that they know everything. Yeah, they're out of the house. They don't know anything. Still, they're learning. But the other thing that they're doing is from probably about 18 to 25, they're not making the best decisions. Period. You're just not making the best decisions. They probably already have credit card debt. They may have changed their major 1,000 times. They've done this. There's a lot going on. I do think that at that point, some discussions that I had in a relationship that I was in, what we talked about was sharing his experience with the girls. And that was talking about how you got in credit card debt. Talk to them about how you got in debt over your head and how long it took to get out of it. So what you're doing at that point is you're saying, hey, I love you. I already did this. You don't have to do it that way. We can look at other ways for you to do that. And that could be debt. But it could also be just how your kids have relationships with others. Like how what women they're choosing, what men they're choosing. It's really moving into adult conversations. And I think as a partner, if you have someone with a partner with young adults, I saw it as my responsibility to say, hey, you're moving, we need to move the boundaries a little bit. These are young women, they aren't 5, they aren't 15. So we move into talking to them as adults.
As adults.
And so it helps me from that perspective if I'm going to be a partner. I'm going to be a part of this blended family.
Oh, that's good.
If you want to be there.
Real good.
That's really good.
I have 2 children, and I've also dated people with children. I'm in a relationship now where they're children who are closer to the age of my younger girls, but understanding your partner's parental style and learning that early so that you can then know how to chime in and contribute. And I think that, for younger children, certainly you have situations where that child's parent may not be in the picture.
That's
so
right.
apart from the financial obligations, just understanding what that child's needs are. And then of course, if they're older, how to build an appropriate relationship in that perspective. But I think that it's critical that regardless of the age of the child, how involved that your partner is going to be with their children, is understanding and assessing what their style is so that you can better determine where you're fit and if that's going to be a fit for you.
That's really good.
Sure.
Now, one other thing I want to just add.
Yeah,
right
come
quick.
on, come on, yeah.
So, date someone that has had children by multiple people. That's a whole nother dynamic because of the fact you have to deal with everybody's personalities and their attitudes and stuff. And that's hard, especially if that parent is trying to put stuff in that child's head about, say, new wife, girlfriend, whoever. You got to think about that dynamic too, because it's going to cause chaos in your house.
Interesting.
So, what do you? How do you manage it when it's going on? Because there's a lot of times you can't control it, but how do you manage it to create some sense of peace?
So even when I was married and having to deal with a spouse that had 2 children by 2 separate people, it's building a bond with the child themselves.
Yeah. Okay.
That is very important, to make sure that they understand, they like you. You might not love me, but you like me, even to the point they would call me Mama April. So it's just building that relationship. It's easier because we were married, but now as far as dating, dealing with people that have children, sometimes it can be a task.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it can be a task.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the time they spend with you, children, it's been my experience and observation, children will pick up on their
Yes.
own
Yes.
where the BS is.
Right.
They pick up and they can determine and understand what the story versus the
Yeah.
reality is quicker than we
Absolutely.
give them credit for.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Absolutely.
Ooh, that's good stuff. That's good stuff.
That's a podcast.
But like you said, April, relationship matters.
Yep.
It
In
does.
everything.
It
Relationship.
definitely does.
Yes.
You know.
All righty. Question. What has been your pros and cons of dating an entrepreneur? And what advice would you give to a woman who is accustomed to dating a corporate guy who may have a more structured schedule? And this question goes to my dear friend, Jessica.
I felt that energy.
I knew which one.
To succinctly, because of time, it was an adjustment. My guy and I, we've been together for 3.5 years, and he is an entrepreneur. And while intellectually, I understood and appreciated that. The reality of how time is allocated was an adjustment because he is not in a 9-to-5 situation. So compared to what I was accustomed to with my own schedule being 9 to 5, weekends or, let's do dinner at 6,
Right,
kind of
right.
thing. And he will, bless his heart, he accommodates those things for my sake, I know. But I also can appreciate just the thinking out the box and being able to sustain yourself, for that. So that part is admirable. And then it gives me the opportunity to appreciate that I have to also be flexible to accommodate,
Right.
how he makes this living. And so it has been an adjustment. For some people that remains a gripe, but for me it was a learning opportunity because, I've had to learn, stretch and grow outside of a structured mindset around life and relationships in general. So
That's good.
yeah.
It's real
That's
good.
good. And it's a decision.
Yes, and it
At
is
the
a
end of the day,
decision.
it is a decision
Yeah.
you make.
Yes.
And even when you have a structured situation with somebody, it still is not going to go. You have those hours, but there are things that are happening,
Right.
at different seasons of a person's career. So
Right.
you still, even if they're not an entrepreneur, I think
Right.
just grasping the concept that you're talking about is a needed one.
Yeah, so let's be clear. I think that being in relationships in general, even if it's including, obviously marriage, that's still a daily decision, regardless of
Absolutely.
how and what you're applying that to.
Yes.
But
Absolutely.
being committed
Absolutely.
and, to somebody is a daily decision. So.
Yep. Absolutely. Woo! These girls ain't playing around.
Good. Great advice.
I'm trying to trip somebody up.
Not today.
Look at not today.
Right.
So, my next question.
Oh, God.
Has your relationship taught you anything about yourself that you did not know before? And then this question is going to my dear friend, Alexa.
I remember first relationship I was in, I didn't realize how much I listened to my mother and how I didn't have my own opinion just yet. That was very, very. And even today, it can be challenging, and you have to set boundaries. You just absolutely have to set boundaries.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's funny you say that because
You hear about
it's your mom, but sometimes you don't know what your mom went through, so she's impressing, what her experiences
That's right.
and what she on you because you're the,
Yes.
you're my baby. You're not about to know. This is what you do.
I didn't learn that until later. I'm like, wait a minute, is this my
You're
relationship
like-
or your relationship? But you don't realize it until later that,
Right.
that it's all about protection.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not having the same relationship as you, but I don't know to say that until, you're probably 30 or
That's
really.
so good.
That's
so
true.
good.
I feel you on that.
That was probably, that was been on the tip of my tongue.
That's good.
She must be talking about me right now.
And everybody
Alex, you waiting on that. You waiting.
Yeah, that's really, really
It's such a
good.
self-revelation, you know.
Yeah.
You have to come to that. You're like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
I'm acting like my mom.
I sound like my mom.
Sound like
doing
my
the same
Sound like my
doing.
mama.
I don't like that.
Right.
I need to change that.
All right. Ooh, Woo! Next question. Do you feel like people have misunderstood what it means to be equally yoked? And this question is from my beautiful dear friend, Kenya.
Oh, wow. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. As a woman, of course, I was married, to a bishop, and, I had the first lady role and I had that whole, but I've also as an entrepreneur, I'm a businesswoman, and so I had my own identity there, but then stepping into that role of being that first lady and and all the funny thing about Equally Yoked was, for me, it was always about just being his wife, but then stepping into a role where it's a whole nother ball game. And that definition started to change a little based off of his role and what he had going on. So now it's like, wait a minute, I'm marrying you, I just want to be your wife. And then it's like, it stepped into something, well, this goes with this. And so now, wait a minute, equally yoked sometimes can be a situation where literally you're denying a lot of who you are so that you can be a little more equal to what he is for who he is. And I'm gonna tell y'all that right there is a huge awareness, and you may not know it until you're in it, but God has definitely taught me, and through experience and just through learning, that you need to be whole. Right. You know what I mean? You need to be whole, and it is still a partnership, and it's still something that you need to make sure that I did marry the man, and of course I married stuff, but I married him. Right. And to me, I think it started there, and in my marriage, it didn't. It started with like, okay, big hats and a smile, and it's kind of like, hold on. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm a laptop, a boss, And so the adjustment of that and trying to adjust to that, I thought, so it is a huge misconception. I had to learn, no, Kenya, no. Wholeness is where you're supposed to you go into a relationship whole and make sure your partner, no matter who he is, he could be a CEO of Fortune 500 company. I use my experience because a lot of women ask me that. I was like, how did you deal with being that? How did you deal with, there's some pros and cons to all of it, but what I will say is make sure that you're whole. You're whole with God. Whole with God, and let him guide you through that,
That's good, honey.
So I can add to that, which I know you are aware, my ex-husband is a pastor. But was not when we first got married. So it was a lot of struggle back and forth in the household about that, because it was kind of like, because you're a pastor doesn't mean I have to be. And that was an argument. That's not my calling. That's not my calling to be a pastor, and I know that. So if I know I'm not whole, and I sin, because we all sin on a daily basis, I'm not about to be responsible for a sheep of people, and I know that's not my calling. Yeah. So I get what you're saying.
In the communication, there's an expectation, whether it's you or or him or them. Yeah. There's an expectation.
It was.
You know what I mean? And so that communication wasn't convey in that expectation. You know what I mean? I knew that there was things that I had to make sure, but I wanted to make sure I'm me. I want to stay myself. I don't want to adjust to, well, you can't say that or you can't do that. No.
I can't go this place. You can't do this. You can't say that to the family.
You know what I mean? You're smiling too much, or I was just like, what? I like to smile more.
Yeah, it's very real.
So it's real. Yeah, absolutely.
And and I think we also like to use that scripture, Christian to Christian, and it's deeper than that. It's deeper than just sharing that belief, but you got to go a couple of layers down, because we can both believe in God. We can both be Christians, but my God, there's other layers. It's just not enough to say we're both believers.
Absolutely.
And I think that we drill this in the singles head, get another Christian, but you have to go another level. You got to go a little deeper. And that can look different for everybody. I'm not trying to create no kind of cookie cutter to what I'm saying. That just simply means talk a little more.
Communication.
Watch the lifestyle. Watch their day to day. Get them out of environments of commonality and comfort. And just the simple things that you have to adjust to outside of your comfort really shows the character of the person. That is who you're marrying. That's who you're connected to. Because that's an unpredictability that nobody can control. And you're going to see the real person in those situations.
Absolutely.
It's small stuff. I mean, people really kind of make it big.
They make it
you
big.
know, we got to do this big grand thing for me to kind of really understand who I'm dating. No, you don't. You can drive to the next
It's in the
county.
details.
Right. It's in the details.
Yes.
It's in the details.
Yep.
That's good.
Woo! I'm enjoying this, as y'all can see. All right, this question is for every woman on the panel. Every woman, I want to hear their voice in reference to this question. And the question is, do you ladies feel like a woman puts more emphasis on her preferences dating in her 40s? And when I say preferences, I mean,
Can we
I
say
don't
hell
like
yeah on
short
this podcast?
guys.
That list.
I like that list. Do we put more emphasis on that? Are we still dating that way? Are you still hung on the fact that my love is gonna come above 6 feet?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's not-
I
when I
thought you
say
were saying.
preferences,
Okay, well,
He's
okay.
got to make a certain amount of money, or he has to live on a certain side of town, or he's got to drive a certain kind of car. Like, do you still date and deal with your preferences
Who first?
in your 40s? We're gonna start over here.
Okay,
Go ahead.
It's a no.
It's a no.
It's a no. Like my preferences when I was younger
Yep.
would be, oh, his body needs to be like this. Oh, he needs to be this tall. He got to do this. He got to do that. And now it's like, wait, you love the Lord? You love me? Let me see, you don't have no drama. You ain't got no psychiatric issue. Oh, we good. We good. But honestly, that's
and it's
how
verified.
It is.
You
Yes,
gotta look that
it's
stuff up.
exactly. Yes, we're gonna do our searching. We're gonna do our searching. What's your mom and daddy name? What's this? Yes.
Yeah.
But it's like now it's just a little harder, especially dating here,
Yeah. Here, as in
Atlanta.
Georgia. Let's make it
It's
plain.
just it's so hard
Yeah.
to date here.
Yeah.
And it's very
Yeah.
hard. And even though they say Atlanta is big, it really is not. Like it's still small in a sense. It's still small.
It's truly the definition
Yes.
of quantity over quality.
Quantity, yes.
And depending on how you bend, you're going to determine what's more important.
Yes.
Yeah.
You playing in a pool, or you're picking certain fish out the pool based on quality.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there again.
Yeah. As long as you got more positives than
I
negatives.
love it.
That's right. Come on, Miss Jess, what you think?
So I would first start to say that I would distinguish between, standards and preferences. The preferences are the nice to haves, but
Right.
there's some basic things that, if you
Ooh.
don't come with this, you got
Okay.
to have that.
That's
So
good.
I will
That's
start
good.
with that. I met my guy shortly after I turned 40. So I'm in my 40s now and have been with him since. But what I have learned in that is that he brings things to me I don't know that I could have put down, but he meets standards. So I don't know that I could have said these are the qualities that I just know I'm experiencing that I don't know that I could have written on a list had I been single and said this is what I got to have.
Right.
But he compliments, he compliments things that I can only. I couldn't have said, like the way we expect the sky, to be blue. I mean, you just know that it is.
know.
You
Yeah.
can't say, well, I think I want the sky to be blue. It just is. That's what has, that's what I've come. So my short answer is that I certainly, have standards, but the preferences, I think that, I get that plus some, even though I couldn't have orchestrated that necessarily.
That's great.
But I say that, and I'll close with this, is that I think not being so fixed, because then it leaves us not flexible for
Absolutely.
somebody who could otherwise we'd miss out on if we were only, you're not checking off the stuff, or you've got something that's not on, I don't know that that's generally been my approach in general.
Oh, great points.
Real good.
Alexa.
I probably feel like Jessica. That when you said that, the first thing that came to mind was he can't smoke. That's the first thing that came to mind. That would probably be like,
It's a preference for sure.
yeah, it is. But yeah, I probably feel like you. I feel like too that my energy brings back about what I'm into.
Yeah.
So I don't have to have like a laundry list or anything like that. And so it's about like that. I don't think about it too hard, but yeah.
Good. Oh, good points. Good points.
It's kind of like that laws of attraction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I know for me, actually April, I'm the opposite because my pet personality is so adaptable. Just the way I was raised. From Alabama, we're Southern. We was raised to kind of cater. So what I really wanted, if I got it, it was like,
Yeah.
but it was okay because I can adapt to whatever it is that I'm, because, you know, hey, I got that person, you know.
Yeah.
But now that I'm in my 40s, and y'all got to remember, y'all know when we hit that 40 mark, we got a zero tolerance for a whole lot of things.
Right.
It don't even have to be about a man. It's just like, you know, we just, it's almost like a level of maturity that we come into where we just know ourselves a little more. And it's like, okay, I know what I don't want. I mean, I know what I always want, but I know what I don't want. You know what I mean?
And very unapologetic about it too.
Oh.
In a way that you're like amazed.
Oh,
like you don't even make no apologies. Like you
Absolutely.
like, and I mean it. And I'm good. You ain't worried about it and stressed after you say what you say. You know,
absolutely.
it's a great feeling.
Absolutely, it is. It's liberating, especially when a personality like me that could be deemed like a people pleaser because of the fact that I'm giving, like, it's natural for me. And so now it's like, oh, can you say no? Yeah, can you say no? You know, and so the type of person I think I am looking for now, I'm so vain right now, girl, you gotta be fine. Look, he need to be 6 figures. I'm gonna tell y'all why. Because like my experiences, it's like, you know what? If you're there, that means either you got an inheritance or you really work hard for it. So when I'm talking to you, there's a level of expectation of intelligence or hard work or some type of mindset where I don't have to go through a whole lot, or you know what I mean? Or maybe I do, but I'll find out, you know. But yeah, there is some levels there that I just want to expect now when I get back out there, because I've been in situations where I have been the breadwinner when I shouldn't be the breadwinner. I should just, you know what I mean? I can be your partner, I could be, but I don't need to pay I gotta pay the mortgage every month. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's an expectation. No, that shouldn't be my expectation. Yeah. You know what I mean? So let me watch you pay your mortgage for a few. And then let me see if that's, because it says a lot. I mean, that's just real life. I mean, I'm keeping it real. Like, that's my experience.
It does
My
says a lot.
experience is where I go into a relationship and I'm like, wait a minute, I can't be giving to all of this all the time. I need, you know what I mean? It's not a tit for tat, but you can't fulfill me emotionally. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Leveraging, leveling up.
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
It's the math of, you want to experience multiplication.
Absolutely.
You know, if you are doing so much to add on to your life by yourself,
right.
You know, it's a beautiful thing to bring more to that table and create a sense of multiplication.
Absolutely. And let me correct something for your listeners. I was just joking about the list. It's not. It's really. It's not.
I was like, maybe I should put
I was talking about in ways where I'm joking about, like, you ain't gotta make 6 figures, but be close to it. But all I'm saying, but it just brings a level of something else. You know what I mean? When I sat here and I sat down to know Charlene, give an example. If I know Charlene, there's an expectation of intelligence and beauty and inner, you know, it's just a whole lot of things that I'm going to know about her because of my experience. You know what I'm saying? So I guess I put that out there on my imaginary list, Lord. You know, I won't
point taken.
Like,
and
you know what I
given,
mean?
I get it. I totally get it. It makes sense. You know, you really don't have to drill it, because we get it. We do get the point.
But I think that I think when you get to 40 plus, and it may happen earlier for some people, but like you were saying earlier, like you get to a place where you give off a certain energy or attract. So there's certain things that are just going to fall to the wayside, and then What a lot of women we don't always necessarily talk about is men have they're having the same. They may not talk about the same way, they may have a list or
They
their
do.
preferences that they apply to us
Yes.
as well. And
Right.
so when
And it
both
does
parties
6
are
feet,
doing
and
that,
it's this and it's
yeah,
that.
Right.
yeah,
I'm gonna say this, and I mean it when I say it. I don't feel like they struggle with being in their list. They are really good about being very adamant until they get certain things.
Yep.
We are the ones that bend our
Yes.
list. We
Yep.
and I don't want to say
Yep.
list, but we bend and compromise
A lot.
a whole lot more
I
than a
will
man.
say
Yes.
that we reprioritize our list of 10.
yes, I agree.
That's a good one.
I
That's
agree.
good.
Because we think
That's a good way to
that's actually good, especially over 40, because we got to look at the stages that we are in life. But I
Yes,
love
yeah,
that.
I like the way you put
Reprioritize.
that. I like the way you put that.
I do
Yeah.
feel like, because a really good friend of mine from the military, we used to talk about this all the time. We say, okay, what's your top 3? And he would always say, she needs to be this, this, and that. And I was like, that's still your top 3? And he was
Yeah.
like, he said, yeah, y'all women, y'all move that down. It's like, yeah, well,
See,
And
you know,
well, we do.
You know, and we'll
We do.
We'll
We'll do
switch
it.
around. But as long as we get this 10, you know, we reprioritize those things. And I just think that comes with a nurturing personality that we have.
Yeah.
I think it goes with that.
It's
that
the
we
gift-
move
it's the gift and the
things,
curse
we move
of it.
things around.
Because I struggle with that.
we
I do.
become
A lot of
like, you know, we get great. We'll say, okay, well, I'm grateful for this and this and that. You know, not that it's
Hey, grateful yourself right on down the ceiling.
And I don't mean it that way. I don't mean it that way. I just mean
She
that.
means that we're wives, regardless if we're
You
married or
know,
not.
right.
I'm a wife, period. You know what I mean? So it's
you have
kind of
to
like
see
a,
yourself in that
I think,
mindset.
it's the frame-
Right,
I
right.
think it's just,
You have
you know, it's how we frame it up. And I think we're really
Yeah,
good
true.
at framing things up because it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Yes.
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think we do. I think
true.
we do
Yep.
things like
That's
that.
good.
That's true.
Oh, that's a good one. That was real good.
All right. Next question. What is your advice for a woman who desires marriage that has never been married? And I want to direct this to the women who have been married before. Okay, so we're going to start down here. What is your advice for women who desire marriage that have never been married before?
I guess I could say for me with being younger when I first got married in my 20s, with some people, and I've had family members that met each other 6 months, were married, they've been married for 20 years. But from my perspective, take your time.
Yeah.
Take your time. Get to know these people. Get to know their families. Understand the dynamics between their parents. Does he love his parents? Does he love his mother? Like, you need to see all of that, how they interact maybe with their siblings or other family members. You really need to see that. If they have children, how is their interaction with their children? You need to take the time to really get to know that person, like really, really, really get to know that person. For me, number one is, does he love God? Because that's going to be the head of our household. Without that, where are you leading me? You have to be able to lead me spiritually as well. You got to cover me. We got to be able to cover this household. So for me, ultimately, I would say, take the time to get to know someone. Make sure their finances are good. That's going to be important. Like what Kenya just shared, it shouldn't be a situation where I'm sitting here carrying a whole household when you're able to work and do things the way that you need to do to take care and provide for our family. So that would probably be mine.
Great
Yeah.
points.
Yeah.
Jess, very well said, April. I think I would add to that is, in addition to the take your time is to not be in a rush. So there is no
good.
too
Yep.
young, there is no too old for you to meet the right person.
Yep.
I think understanding your why for why you want to be in a marriage.
Absolutely.
A marriage is different than being in
It's no
even a long-term relationship.
Different.
So understanding your whys, which means that what do you know and
good.
want to bring into the relationship as much as what is it that you like to get out of it.
Yep.
And I think my final point would be to understand that people go through seasons in life. And so if you are in the 40 plus, club and you've not experienced that yet, anybody that you meet that's been living life is going to have something.
Something,
And so
that's
you
right.
have to decide
That's
what
right.
you're okay with helping someone carry, and that's not in a way of carrying someone's drama,
Yes.
but understanding what is it that you're going to be okay with partnering with the same way that you would want that person to be able to help you with your stuff. And sometimes our stuff doesn't get highlighted or agitated until you are in a relationship. So not being willing to just throw the stuff away. And that could be financial, it could be emotional, it could be a myriad of things because we're humans and we're doing life. So just choosing the right partner for the right reasons, more than just, I want the status of being married.
Absolutely.
But who is it you're going to make that daily decision? I'm going to be here and sit in your ugly with you.
Right.
And I need you to commit to sitting in my ugly with me.
Right.
That's what needs to be clear, and you need to be confident about before committing to, you know,
so
to
good.
that kind of covenant with somebody.
I agree.
That's so good.
That's so good.
Next.
Me.
Yes.
For me, I think I have one point. It's to thine own self be true. So I feel like a lot of times we go into something, I use this word all the time, expectation of others, and don't allow what you want in a marriage, don't allow your fairy tale to supersede your reality. You know, if you're not whole, wholeness is what we all should seek, just period. And it's amazing how certain things just come to you because you working on self. You know, you're working on who you are. And I feel like a person that's for you, because he that findeth that person, you know, will find that good thing, and that good thing will be ready for that person. And I think that a lot of times we go into it like, well, you know what? Okay, I got a 520 credit score, but he loves me, but real life says, you know what, I probably not, maybe not, I need to at least have the conversation.
That's right.
I at least need to communicate that I'm not really good at my finances. Are you going to be okay with that? I'm willing to accept help, but I'm just not good. I like to shop on Tuesdays and Thursdays because that's when, Ross and TJ Maxx bring in I'm just saying. It's so true. I'm just saying. So just, I'm making light of it, but actually to thy own self be true. Be true to who you are. That way you can really convey it out to your partner, especially if they really love you. You owe it to them and you owe it to yourself.
Oh, that's good.
But then also understand, you're going to have those days where I might not love you. You got to realize if I like you. And that's, people don't get that too. It's like.
That's true.
Like the person you love.
Yes. There you go.
Love is a feeling. So
It is.
It's gonna
It
be-
is.
It's
gonna
going to come and go, but
Right.
you better be able to like them.
Right. Love is a feeling.
Yep.
Let's stir this. Let's get this party started. This question, next question. How much influence does a person's family dynamic have on whether you see them as a future husband? This question is from my dear friend, April.
She's sipping her tea right now.
I had a feeling that was for me. Ooh. Honestly, I feel it can be important. It is important. Especially dealing with in-laws sometimes. It's, okay. Let me keep this nice. It can be difficult. Just say that it can be, but you also have to understand when you marry, we're as two. And sometimes the outside influence of in-laws, families, you have to keep that outside. Like, I had to learn the hard way of not sharing everything that went on in my marriage with my parents. Because once I've forgiven that person, my parents have not.
They have not.
And
so good.
can cause issues if I've forgiven and you haven't, and then when we come around, it's still everybody bitter.
Yeah.
And so you have to think about that as far as the dynamics, but also whether your in-laws actually like you, because that can cause havoc in your own house. So when they come and visit, well, I don't like this and I don't like that, and it's like, well, it's not your house. But I can go so deep in that, but I have to keep it nice.
We feel you and we get you.
Nice with that, but it is important to really think about that and have a good relationship with in-laws, because you don't want to alienate people of that. You don't have that close bond. Like how I am with my family. We're super tight. I could not fathom in my mind where a spouse does not like my parents or my siblings, and they're not tight with them, because I'm so close with them.
Yeah.
That would really that would be detrimental to me if that was not the case. So how my family is, they pretty much for the most part get along with everybody. Now, if you do me wrong, that is going to be
Yeah,
an issue
absolutely.
with them. But that, that question.
Yeah, and it can, especially depending on what you see prior to.
Yes.
I mean, I can't speak from the point view of marriage, but from being in a long-term relationship, what you see during that dating and courting phase, and realizing, especially if it is spilling into your relationship. So, a little here and there shouldn't necessarily be a deal breaker, but you also have to watch how your partner, allows certain things to, are they doing a good job at stopping stuff at the gate? Are they, do you watch how they respond even to their family drama? If I see my partner respond in a certain way and I know it's a hard situation, I will still move forward. But if I see him struggling in that sense, I'm gonna have a long road ahead of me.
Oh, yes.
So, just even watching how they handle that in the partnership prior to marriage is big for me.
And understand too, it can change.
Yeah.
Some things when you're dating may be one way.
Correct.
But when you get married,
It could change.
it can change.
It will
It's
change.
a completely different dynamic. It can change. It can and it has.
We've not done I don't think we've done a good job at articulating what the boundaries look like. So obviously on the one hand, when you enter in a marriage, it's you and your partner.
Right.
But I also think when you think about the ceremony in the village or the people who are committing to supporting the marriage,
Right.
so whether it's your bridal party to just your family in general,
You marry
like,
the family.
what does that look like? Because you don't go out on an island on your own.
Right.
You just don't. There's still the holiday stuff and all the different
Absolutely.
life events in between. Someone gets sick and your family needs to rush in and support you. Or support. So those relationships are important. However, there are times where that doesn't necessarily happen organically, even prior to or after the marriage. But I think that just having more discussion as what are the expectations for what the involvement will look like. We're doing holidays together. Do I have all your immediate family or your closest relatives info? If something happens to you, I need to reach out. All those kinds of things. So anyway.
That's good.
That's real
That's
good.
real good.
That's real
That's great stuff.
You don't even feel like it.
I know.
Yeah.
This has been really, really, really good. My next question. Tell me about a deal breaker that you compromised on in a past relationship and why you would never do it again. Tell me about a deal breaker that you compromised on in a past relationship and why you will not do it again. And this is for my dear friend, Jessica.
You know what I'm just
She said, which one?
She can know which one off the top of her head.
I just,
Which one, Jessica? Which one?
So many. I was like, oh no.
Okay, so it's like, I don't want to miss the opportunity of just, being, transparent and being, real with
Absolutely.
people. So first of all, in my previous relationships, they've all been learning, opportunities. Some of, obviously there's been a lot of misses, but in my current relationship, my guy and I, we live together. And for all my life, it was one of those things where, I kind of felt like, I just wouldn't cohabitate, and part of that was because that's what I was conditioned. We grew up with that. And then, and we had discussions about that because we never cohabitate with anybody outside of marriage. So it was new for both of us. However, I can't say that for me, when I, felt myself kind of question, like, we're really doing this, part of it was, I've been single all this time. Am I going to be okay with seeing somebody else's socks on the floor? Or, what if this mug is out on the counter overnight kind of thing? And that was the first part. But the other part was because I'd been married before, and there were so many things that I did not see until after the fact that I'm like, dog, how did I miss this? Where now, there's no room to hide on my part or his. Now, it's not, justifying anything. It's my decision. It's my guy and our adult decision. Right. However, if I had to do it again, I I can't say that, that we wouldn't, but it was one of those things that was on my radar that I had not done before. It was something that was on our conscience, about, are we going to do this? And it's been fine, except that I think the part for me is just that traditional mindset of, the order in which things, are supposed to go. And we still have that conversation, from time to time. Are we doing this in an orderly fashion kind of thing? However, there have also been some real life experiences that I'm getting now that I wish or I did not get in my marriage years ago, for not having, lived with someone to see who they are all the time. So 2020, while it was a tough year, that was also a learning for us. I'm like, I don't mind being around you. And I even don't mind. We enjoyed being around each other, where that broke a lot of marriages and relationships. That was not one of our challenges, is whether or not we could be in each other's space 24/7 for a whole year.
Good. That's an interesting point.
It's not
Anyone else have like, when you think about it, like something you compromised on that you'll never do again? Like you did it before, but you wouldn't do it again.
I think for me, it's adjusting my personality to the fact that, don't be so quick to pay that thing, or don't be so quick to get the bill. He's supposed to get the bill. You know what I mean? Don't be so quick to be married and you dating. You know what I mean? I think that for me, it's like, oh, he's my guy, so I'll shower you with gifts. I would do all these things, but it's me. I would do that for anyone, but I had to learn. This is such a transparent moment right here. But I had to learn that take your time, let them court you, and let them be the man, let them lead. I'm always so used to leading everything. So it was kind of like, this guy, this person is trying to date me, and I'm thinking I'm doing my, whoever just doing, and I should be just kind of letting, like you said, letting him get the door, and letting him, it's okay, it's okay for him to do certain things. And I think that I'm regretful for not doing those things because I feel like I would be in a better space as it relates to me saying, I'm worth that,
absolutely.
Although subconsciously I know I'm worth a whole lot, but no, I'm worth him doing that first.
Yep, absolutely.
So
Ladies, guess what? It's been my absolute pleasure. This is going to wrap up my all women over 40 relationship panel discussing dating, marriage, divorce, and single. Wow, I hope that everyone that's watching and listening have gleaned to the experience, the lessons, the thoughts of women who are not only just near and dear to my heart, but women that I look up to, women who know a lot about the things I struggle with. And it's just good to have that in your life. But I purposely was super intentional on having some sort of episode to include women in our 40s to discuss this. It's such an important subject. At some point in your life, you will be making a decision about whether you're going to remain single, or you're going to date, or if you're going to get married. And unfortunately, marriages sometimes end in divorce. So I just want to thank you all for showing up for your girl.
Thank you for having us.
Y'all clap it up for my ladies.
guys are wonderful.